wants further scrutiny, concerned, as you'd imagine, about what it might mean for competition in that space. Now, Neil Le Febvre is the CEO of the Motor Traders Association here in WA. Good afternoon, Neil.
G'day, Jamie. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Has the ACCC made the right decision here to take a deeper dive into this deal?
Look, probably the thing I'd observe is this is the second time the ACCC has come out in the documentation and said they're satisfied the acquisition could both reduce competition, drive up premiums, and reduce the quality of the insurance product sold. So it's strange that it has gone on to yet another stage in the process. But I guess this means they're being very, very thorough through the process. So, I can't see much changing still on the conclusions they've already come to.
Right. Okay. So from what you've seen to date, you think that deal would be detrimental to competition and to motorists, I suppose, across Western Australia?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from the consumer perspective, and the RAC has called that out in terms of that lack of competition potentially driving up the premium that you would pay and the quality of the product. When you then look at the the motoring industry and those repair businesses who we advocate for, when you've got the potential model of having one insurer that's really dominant and has the ability to dictate to the businesses that are reliant on it for consumers coming in with their cars to get repaired, that insurer can dictate what they'll pay, and they can enforce repairers to work exclusively with them. None of these things are great for the customer. So ultimately, the customer would be the loser through this process as well as the industry.
Okay, so it's not just about insurance here. There's a flow-on effect to other parts of the motoring market and industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. You've kind of gone through, I suppose, what the ACCC has put out today, and the broad brush part of it is that there is a concern over what it would mean for competition. You've spoke there about what it would mean for the flow-on effect for other parts of the motoring market as well. What are the other things in there that probably grabbed your attention and raised your eyebrow?
Look, I guess there's probably a part in their process where the ACCC has also flagged up its observations around the insurance environment, and they've talked to the fact that insurers have recently faced regulatory costs, increased reinsurance costs and claims costs, but have also highlighted that in the ACCC's view, that these challenges have lessened for the RAC and it's well placed to manage them. So that kind of removes that from the table. And I think really importantly from our industry's perspective and from you and I, Jamie, as consumers, where you went at the beginning of this segment talking to the fact that the RAC is this well-trusted and well-loved brand in the WA community, it is with our members as well. Our members have a great working relationship with the RAC. They're focused on working well with the members to do perfect repairs for the consumers and giving consumers the product they want. That's a great outcome for all round. But clearly the ACCC is highlighting the challenge of reducing that competition in market, and if IAG have that total dominance in WA, that really just becomes a negative for the automotive industry and for the consumers who are dependent on it to keep their cars on the road.
It's a good reminder, I think, to have a look at what truly sits behind a business and a brand. Companies spend so much money on marketing and building their brand. You've got, businesses like the RAC that have, heritage built in their brand as well. It's a bit of a reminder, isn't it? And I know this transaction hasn't gone through to maybe really understand what kind of sits behind all of that.
100%. And, within insurance products, it tends to be for every consumer, it's a bit of a grudge purchase until, of course, you use it. And that's when you realise the quality of the product you're buying. And this is, again, where an organisation like RAC has stood proud in the market, and our members have recommended RAC insurance more often than not to the consumers they work with. So we've been a part of that word of mouth that has helped grow the brand because of it, because it's a quality product. So really understanding what sits behind it and knowing that the money you're paying up front for your insurance will translate into a a good outcome at the end of that is really important, whether it's health insurance, whether it's motor insurance, whether it's home insurance. You want a great outcome.
You're listening to Neil Le Febvre. He's the CEO of the Motor Traders Association here in Western Australia, and talking about, I suppose, a bump in the road here. We'll see if this deal still goes through with RAC, a $1.3 billion deal with Insurance Australia Group. 133-882. How do you see it? Any RAC members out there? What are your thoughts? I'd love to hear from you today. Neil, how big of a beast would it become if these two come together in terms of, I suppose, market cap, but also their market share?
Yeah, look, it's well over 2/3 of the market that they would dominate in the automotive space here, and I think it's pretty close in the home insurance space as well. And you've got to remember, RAC is very strong in WA in motor insurance and home insurance. So bringing IAG together with them creates that behemoth. So one business being able to really dictate to the market and shut out competition isn't a great outcome for consumers. So, yeah, it would be a really big beast.
Neil, I know you're fairly new into the role there as CEO. On another issue today, the fuel crisis that's ongoing, how have you observed that, and where do you think that's going in the next few weeks or months?
Yeah, my favourite subject.
Yeah.
Look, so certainly it doesn't seem to be something that is going to be going away anytime soon for us. From our perspective, and working with the industry, been really had positive engagement with the government and seen a strong lead here in WA in terms of trying to drive transparency with the fuel companies and get that information flow out to consumers. It's been positive, for me personally, going to the petrol station recently and not needing to pay over $3 a litre for my diesel fill-up. So that's a great outcome to see a bit of movement on that price. But it feels like this isn't going to go away, and it probably plays into one thing that we've seen as the Motor Trade Association here in WA has been the growth of EVs in the last month. So consumers have really voted with their feet in WA. Until recently, WA has had the lowest consideration for EV purchase of all the states.
Yeah.
And it's that tyranny of distance, which has been something that's probably concerned us, and the range anxiety. But last month there were 3 times the number of EVs sold in WA over the same time last year, and only about that's higher than the national average. It was a double sales at a national average. So WA consumers have really gone out and voted pretty strongly with their feet in terms of purchasing EVs. That introduces a new challenge around fuel, essentially, which is the challenge into charging. So
yeah.
We're now going to have a challenge around how many points of infrastructure there are around the state for people to keep charging their EVs as they travel around. Yeah,
and I suppose a big decision for the federal government too, when you look at that and a move to EVs, is it time for a road user charge to encompass those who are in electric vehicles? Do you think that's the direction the federal government should be going?
Yeah, look, at a national level, through the National Motor Trade Association, we're advocating for some sound decision making around the shift to a road user charge, and there's various models that can be contemplated, and this is something to ensure we get right. But it's also something to ensure we do well in terms of its timing. So we don't want to stem the flow of the growth of EVs. And if you look at Australia's use of fuel, energy, I should say, transport is the highest user of energy in Australia at 30%. It's the biggest industry for energy consumption. So that shift to EVs over time is a really positive one. So it's a fine balancing act for the government to ensure that we continue to encourage the growth and proliferation of these on the roads, and we can support it. And interestingly, in New South Wales, earlier this week, the state government there announced a $100 million investment into more infrastructure around the state and more training for skilling up mechanics in working on EVs in the state. So they're certainly getting ahead of the game.
All right. Hey, Neil, really good to have a chat to you today. I suppose we'll see what happens in the federal budget on that side of things, and we'll see how it plays out with the ACCC in terms of this RAC deal as well. Good to have a chat, and I reckon we get you in the studio sometime as well. I know you're stepping into a newish role there. It'd be good to pick your brain on a few things.
I'd love to come in.
All right.
Thanks very much, Jamie.
Neil Le Febvre there. He is the CEO of the Motor Trade Association here in Western Australia. On the RAC stuff, how do you see it? Am I overbuilding the connection that we have to that brand? Is it one that feels truly West Australian? 133 882. And what do you think about this merger? I mean, that was staggering to hear from Neil there. If these two come together, you're looking at 2/3 of the market share, he said. Surely that doesn't end well for consumers.